Now let's take a look at creating a virtual machine in VMware Workstation 8. Now we're in the workstation environment here, and you'll notice that we've got all these options, and of course I can resize various parts of this. I do want to point out here, if you don't have this home tab, if you've turned it off either by mistake or on purpose, if you just go right back up to tabs and choose go to home tab, it'll pop right back up. But to create a new virtual machine, who would have guessed, you just click on create new virtual machine. You can also go to file new virtual machine, and it'll give you the same place. So if I kill that and hit here, notice I end up at the same place. Now I have two options immediately when I'm going to create a new virtual machine in Workstation 8. Typical, this creates it in a few easy steps. It's going to make some decisions for you. Or then custom, it gives you a lot more options to choose. Notice SCSI controller, various other things that you can choose there. But I'm going to do typical here. We'll go next. Now it wants to know, okay, so you want to create a new machine. Where do you want to get the operating system from? Well, at this point I have a Windows Vista disk in my DVD drive, so I could use that, or I could hit one of a number of ISOs that I have out there. That's an Ubuntu ISO, and if I hit browse, you can see I've got a Windows Developer Preview ISO out there that I could use, or I can tell it I'll just install the operating system later, and I'll talk more about this a little bit later on. Let me jump right back up here. Notice when it looks at the Windows Vista disk, this right here is either good news or bad news depending on where you're at and what your experience has been. The operating system will use easy install, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But for now I'm just going to say that I will install the operating system later. Then I can hit next, and then I can determine exactly what operating system I want. If I'm Microsoft Windows, notice I can choose the operating system like manufacturer type level up here, and then I can choose from any number of products that they have out there. I'll leave it on XP Professional. Notice if I was installing Linux, I've got a number of different flavors that I can choose from here. So I'm going to go back to the Windows operating system, and just for fun, we may use this later on, I will choose Vista. And when I hit next, notice it's automatically going to name it Windows Vista. I can call it whatever I want. I'll call it Windows Vista A, and it's automatically going to put that name out there for me at the location, the default location. I can change this either at Edit Preferences, or I can just browse and go out there and put it wherever I would like. And so I'll hit next, and now it's asking me the size of the disk that I want. Notice the recommended size for Windows Vista is 40, and this is the easy install, making suggestions for me. I can store it as a single file, split it into multiples. We'll talk about that later. I'll leave it as multiples for now. And then this is kind of a review of everything I've chosen. I can click here to customize the hardware. I can add more memory to it just by sliding this up. I can also come up here, for example, if I know 1048 is what I want, I can just put that in. And notice this is in megabytes, so you have to do some math. That's 1 gigabyte in English. And so what I'll do now is just hit close on this and hit finish. And let me just go back and review just a minute and make sure that I did leave this, yes, on install the operating system. Notice you can go forward and back in these, no problem. Now when I click finish, it'll just take just a split second there, and I now have this out here. Now I don't have an operating system in this yet, and so what I'll have to do is come back later and actually install an operating system. We'll do that in a separate video entitled Installing Guest Operating System. And so join me for that video, but for now you just created a virtual machine. Now we did not install a guest operating system, but we have now created a virtual machine. You see it shows up here, and it shows up down here in my thumbnails.